I fired the first shot by leaking the CEO's offshore slush fund to every major outlet before dawn, watching the headlines explode like fireworks on the 4th of July. Then I walked into the board meeting with a USB drive full of confessions, dangling it like a noose over the necks of the men who'd sworn brotherhood but sold me out for stock options. By noon, I wasn't just quitting, I was dismantling the empire from the inside, pulling 43 directors into the abyss with me. Because loyalty isn't a boardroom perk, it's a blood oath. And I'd been bled dry. It started in the fluorescent haze of a Chicago suburb, back when I was Anna Hale, the golden girl of Sterling Dynamics, a mid-tier tech firm clawing its way into the big leagues. I'd clawed my way up from intern coffee runs to VP of operations in 5 flat years. The kind of ascent that made the old boys club whisper ambitious bitch behind my back. But I didn't care. I had vision, AI-driven supply chains that could shave billions off logistics costs, and a mentor who promised to make me untouchable. His name was Victor Lang, silver fox with a Harvard drawl, the CEO who'd plucked me from obscurity and molded me into his right hand. "You're my legacy, Anna," he'd say over late-night scotch, his eyes gleaming like he meant it. Turns out, legacies are just another word for disposable assets. The betrayal hit like a Midwest winter storm, sudden, bone-chilling, and impossible to outrun. It was 2 years ago, during the merger with Apex Innovations, a cutthroat Silicon Valley upstart hungry for our patents. Victor pitched it as our moonshot: equity swaps, board seats, a fat IPO on the horizon. I led the due diligence, buried in spreadsheets and NDAs, while he glad-handed the Apex brass in Napa. But one night, holed up in my corner office overlooking Lake Michigan, I stumbled on the glitch. Buried in Apex's financials, a shell company funneled kickbacks to Victor's personal accounts. Not chump change, we're talking 7 figures. Siphoned from the merger pot to fund his Hamptons flip and his mistress's trust fund. The mistress? My best friend, Lila, who'd been feeding him intel on my strategies since day one. I confronted him the next morning, storming into his corner suite with printouts trembling in my fists. "This ends now, Vic. We go public. Or I do." He didn't flinch. Just leaned back in his leather throne, lighting a Cuban he'd smuggled past customs, and smiled that paternal smile that always made me feel small. "Anna, sweetheart, you think you're the only one with dirt? That whistleblower leak last quarter? The one that tanked our stock and got the SEC sniffing? That was you, kiddo. Or at least, it'll look that way when I hit send on these emails." He tapped his laptop. And there they were, forged trails, timestamps doctored to pin the leak on my IP address. I'd covered for him once, years back, when a faulty algorithm I'd debugged hid his embezzlement from an early investor round. A mistake, he'd called it then, begging me to bury it. I'd done it for the company, for him, for the family we pretended to be. Now it was my noose. I walked out of that office a ghost, the wind off the lake whipping my coat like it knew I was unraveling. Lila called that afternoon, all bubbly concern. "Heard you two had a tiff." "Dinner?" My treat, oysters at Shaw's. I met her anyway, because denial's a hell of a drug. Over champagne flutes clinking like false promises. She spilled it casual as confetti, Victor's plan to scapegoat me fully. Frame the leak as retaliation for being passed over for COO. She'd signed on as Apex's new CMO. Bonus be damned. It's business. Anna. You get that, right? You're too pure for this game. Pure. The word stuck like shrapnel. I'd taken the fall for his sins before, nights forging reports, lunches schmoozing regulators to look the other way, and now she was twisting the knife with a smile. That night, alone in my Lincoln Park walk-up, I didn't cry. I plotted. Revenge isn't a tantrum, it's architecture, blueprints drawn in the dark, foundations poured with patience. I started small, anonymous tips to mid-level VPs about Victor's irregularities, whispers that bloomed into water-cooler paranoia. By week 2, half the C-suite was side-eyeing him, loyalty fracturing like cheap glass. But Victor was a chameleon, flipping scripts faster than a Wall Street trader. He'd call emergency huddles, paint me as the unstable one. Anna's under a lot of stress, folks, while leaking my erratic emails to HR. I countered with allies, Raj, the CFO who'd owed me since I saved his ass during an audit, Elena, head of R&D, who'd confided her own grudges against Lila's poaching. The tension coiled like a spring in a .45, every board meeting a minefield. Victor's decisions grew erratic, greenlighting risky acquisitions to distract from the merger mess, cutting R&D budgets to plug his leaks, all while dangling promotions like bait. I took the hits publicly, nodding through the fallout. But privately, I was wiring explosives. I hacked his calendar, a ghost from my intern days, when he'd bragged about weak passwords, scheduling phantom meetings that exposed his alibis. Lila flipped too, suddenly concerned texts about my well-being, probing for cracks. I fed her half-truths, let her think she was winning. Months blurred into a fevered dream of double crosses. The SEC subpoena landed like Judgment Day. Victor's name redacted, but mine splashed across the filings, anonymous source. My ass. Stock plummeted 22%. Layoffs loomed, and the board turned feral. Wolves circling the weakest. Me. But I'd anticipated it. In the shadows, I'd been building my shadow network, 43 directors. Not the suits in the penthouse, but the unsung ones, the regional VPs, the division heads, the tech leads scattered from Seattle to Miami. They weren't power players, they were the backbone, the ones who'd watched Victor's empire chew up families for profit. I'd courted them over LinkedIn coffees and late-night Zooms, sharing war stories, planting seeds of doubt. He's not building a legacy, I'd say. Voice steady as lake effect snow. He's burning it for kindling. The climax brewed in the bowels of our Manhattan satellite office, a glass cage overlooking Times Square where neon bled into the night like guilty secrets. It was merger D-Day, the signing gala at the plaza, tuxedos and caviar masking the rot. Victor cornered me in the coat room, reeking of bourbon and desperation. Walk away clean. Anna. Sign the NDA. Take the severance. Or I bury you. His hand on my arm was a vice, eyes darting like a cornered rat. I twisted free, heart hammering, and whispered, too late for clean. Vic. The board votes tomorrow. And you're out. He laughed then, a bark that echoed off the marble, called security, spun it as a hysterical episode. But as they escorted me out, past the glittering crowd, I caught Lila's gaze, smug, then flickering with something like regret. I didn't go home. I went underground, holing up in a Jersey motel with a laptop and black coffee, finalizing the kill shot. The USB drive, my Excalibur, was a Trojan horse, not just Victor's slush fund docs, but a cascade. Confessions from Raj, blackmailed into silence by Victor's threats. Elena's patent logs showing Lila's thefts. And, crown jewel, Recordings of Victor admitting the framed job, captured during that confrontation via a hidden app on my phone. I'd borne his crimes like a penitent, but penance has an expiration. At 4 a.m., I hit send to Reuters, the Journal, every board member's inbox. By sunrise, the leak was viral, Sterling scandal trending. Victor's face on CNBC. Snarling denials. The board meeting was pandemonium. Reconvened in emergency session via video from our HQ war room. I crashed it uninvited. Screen flickering into the feed like a specter. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, voice cutting through the static. "This isn't a resignation. It's a reckoning." I uploaded the drive. Files blooming across shared drives like digital napalm. Gasps rippled shock. Fury. The sweet symphony of implosion. Victor's feed went black. He'd bolted. But not before I saw the crack in his facade. The man behind the mask. That's when the exodus began. One by one, they chimed in. Raj first. "I'm with Anna. The numbers don't lie." Elena next. "We've been blind too long." Then the dominoes. Seattle's ops director. Miami's sales VP. 43 in total. Voices overlapping in a cacophony of allegiance. Not for me, but for survival, for the truth I'd unearthed. The empire we'd all propped up. Lila's feed popped up late. Face pale as printer paper. "This is insane. You're destroying everything." But her vote? Abstain. Flip again. The eternal opportunist. By end of day, Sterling was a carcass. Victor indicted. Merger aborted. Stock in freefall. The 43 walked with me, not to a new firm, but to fracture the old guard entirely. We spun off divisions, independent entities under new banners. A phoenix from the pyre. Me? I took the helm of the largest. Hail Dynamics. Named unapologetically. But victory's a bitter brew. Nights now. In my new glass tower. I stare at the city lights and wonder, did I avenge? Or just become him? The betrayal scarred. But the revenge? It hollowed. The fallout was a media circus. Paparazzi swarming my stoop like locusts on a cornfield. Microphones thrust like accusations. MS. Hail. Was it personal? One yelled, eyes hungry for the salacious. Personal? Hell. It was biblical, eye for an eye. But with NDAs instead of millstones. I dodged them with mirrored shades and a rented Escalade. Barreling toward O'Hare for a red-eye to nowhere. But nowhere turned out to be D.C., where Elena had a contact at the FTC, a wonk who'd trade favors for scoops. "We need more than leaks," she said over burner phones, voice tinny with paranoia. "We need witnesses. Witnesses. Plural." That meant flipping the 43. Turning quiet quits into sworn testimonies. Back in the grind. Hail Dynamics was a startup fever dream. Open plan lofts in Wicker Park. White bards scrawled with "disrupt or die," and a team of ex-Sterling refugees buzzing like hornets. Raj handled the books. His dry wit a bomb against the lawsuits piling up like snowdrifts. Victor's countersuit claims defamation. He'd quip. Glasses perched on his nose. As if truth needs a lawyer. But it did. Victor's machine was grinding back. PR spins painting me as the vengeful ex. Whispers to investors that my instability doomed us all. And Lila, God. Lila, she went full scorched earth. Penning op-eds in Forbes about toxic ambition in female leadership. Her byline photo airbrushed to saintly glow. I could have lawyered up. Played defense. Instead, I doubled down. The twist? I'd held one card close. The original leak. The one Victor pinned on me. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. A canary in the coal mine, exposing his early skim before the merger ballooned it. I'd done it to protect the company, to force his hand clean. But in the chaos, I'd confessed to Raj. And now he dangled it like leverage. Use it, he urged during a strategy sesh. Craft brews sweating on the ping-pong table we called a conference room. Frame the frame. Show you were the hero all along.
Hero.
The word chafed. Heroes don't sleep with one eye open, dreaming of counterstrikes. The real gut punch came midsummer. Humidity thick as regret. Victor surfaced in a 60-minute special, filmed from some undisclosed vineyard manse, looking every inch the wronged patriarch. Anna was like a daughter, he crooned to the camera, tear ducts glistening on cue. But ambition twisted her. She fabricated it all for the spotlight. Clips rolled, doctored audio of me admitting to the leak, spliced from innocuous calls. The internet erupted, Team Victor trending among the programmers. Think pieces dissecting my hysteria with Jungian flair. Even some of the 43 wavered. Miami's Veep texted at 2 a.m., doubts creeping in. This could tank us. I replied with a single emoji, a middle finger, and blocked him. Fracture lines. Already spiderwebbing. Lila's play was subtler. A serpent in the garden. She reached out via a mutual, our old yoga instructor. Of all people, suggesting a reconciliation lunch at Alinea. Neutral ground. I went, wired for sound. Curiosity a sharper blade than caution. She arrived in Lululemon chic, all olive branch and remorse. I was wrong.
Anna.
Victor manipulated us both. Lies. But honeyed. Midway through the molecular gastronomy, foie gras spheres bursting like betrayals, she flipped. Join Apex. We can bury this together. COO slot's yours. The offer hung. Tantalizing. A lifeline laced with arsenic. I probed, feigning thaw. What's Vic's angle? Her eyes darted. Tell. And she spilled. A backdoor deal to reacquire sterling scraps. Using my instability as cover for a hostile takeover. Victor wasn't fleeing, he was regrouping, scheming from the shadows to reclaim his throne on my corpse. I left the restaurant with a napkin-scribbled confession in my purse, her signature inked in haste. But the meal soured in my gut, not just the foie, but the realization she'd never stop flipping, a weather vane in stilettos. That night, I rallied the faithful 42. Miami was out, blacklisted. Over Zoom, faces pixelated from coasts to heartland, I laid it bare. This isn't about him anymore. It's us. Victor's coming, but we hit first. Plans coalesced. Coordinated filings to the DOJ. Pressers in every major market. A unified front. Elena's FTC guy came through with warrants. Raj's audits unearthed more skeletons, tax dodges, insider trades. The 43 weren't followers. They were avengers now. Each with their own buried grudge unearthed in the dig. Autumn brought the storm. Victor's countersuit detonated in federal court. Manhattan's Thurgood Marshall Courthouse, a coliseum of suits and subpoenas. I took the stand first, heels clicking like countdowns. The gallery a mix of reporters and ex-colleagues. Vultures perched. Under oath, I dismantled his narrative. Timelines synced. Alibis shredded. The forged emails exposed as Photoshop hacks. He made me complicit, I said, voice steady, meeting his glare across the room. I bore his mistakes so the company could thrive. But thriving on lies? That's not legacy. That's theft. The jury leaned in. Even the judge's gavel seemed hesitant. Lila testified next, called by his side. Naturally, but cracked under cross. Her reconciliation. Napkin waved like a white flag. It was all him, she stammered, flipping yet again. Victor's face crumpled, the mask slipping to reveal the petulant boy beneath. The verdict? Mistrial on technicalities. His lawyers, sharks in pinstripes, wriggled free. But the damage stuck. Indictments pending. Assets frozen. His name toxic as Chernobyl. We, the 43, the reformed, swept in like scavengers, acquiring Sterling's husk at fire sale prices. Hale Dynamics absorbed the crown jewels, patents,
Talent.
the AI core I'd birthed. Board seat shuffled. I claimed the corner office. View of the loop stretching like conquered land. Champagne toasts in the loft. Laughter echoing off exposed brick. Victory. A hard one and heady. But here's the controversy. The split that haunts water cooler chats and Reddit threads. Was I the savior or the saboteur? I'd exposed the rot. Yes. But at what cost? Thousands jobless in the purge. Pensions vaporized. A sector-wide chill on mergers. Victor? He vanished to Belize. A ghost in flip-flops. But rumors swirl of a comeback. Crypto ventures. Dark web dealings. Lila? She faded into consulting. Her flips forgiven in some circles as adaptability.
Me?
I wake to anonymous emails. You destroyed lives.
Anna.
How's the blood money? The 43? Some stayed loyal. Others drifted, alliances as fickle as the man we toppled. Winter clamped down like a vice. Chicago's wind howling vendettas through the canyons of glass and steel. Hale Dynamics hummed. But the glow was false, neon over fault lines. I'd built an empire on ashes. Yet every revenue report whispered accusations. Profits up 40%. But morale? Fractured. Whispers in the break room about Anna's purge, eyes sliding away in elevators. The 43 were my inner circle, but even they chafed, Raj pushing for aggressive expansions that skirted ethics. Elena clashing over IP hoarding that echoed Victor's sins. We're better, I'd insist in all hands. Fist to heart like a pledge. But mirrors don't lie. I saw the shadows in my eyes. The architect turned to arsonist. The next betrayal slithered in spring, disguised as opportunity. A venture from the Valley Quantum Edge. Sleek disruptors with VC backing and TED Talk vibes offered a partnership, joint AI platform. Shared R&D. My name on the marquee. Led? A ghost from Sterling's past, Marcus Hale. No relation. But he'd been Victor's golden boy. The one passed over for me. Water under the bridge, he schmoozed over virtual pitch decks. His smile all teeth. I vetted it hard, backgrounds clean. Terms ironclad, but hubris is blind. Signed on a Tuesday. By Friday, crack showed. Quantum's code intertwined with ours like kudzu. Backdoors blooming overnight. It unraveled at a summit in Austin. SXSW's electric hum masking the rot. Marcus cornered me poolside at the Driscoll. Bourbon neat in hand. Texas drawl thick as molasses. Anna, you're a visionary. But visions need funding. Quantum's got it if you step aside. Step aside? For him. The interim CEO, slot. My equity diluted to scraps. Rage boiled. But I played cool. What's the leverage? He grinned. Pulling up his phone, a leaked memo. My signature forged on a resignation, dated pre-partnership. Courtesy of a mutual friend, he said. Lila. Again. She'd flipped to Quantum's advisory board, peddling my secrets like vintage wine. I didn't explode. I excavated. Back in the hotel, laptop glowing like a Ouija board, I traced the forgery, digital fingerprints leading to a sterling holdover. A Sysadmin Victor had buried in the Exodus. The puzzle clicked. Marcus wasn't the snake. He was the shed skin. Victor pulled strings from exile, puppeteering through proxies. His revenge a slow poison. Quantum wasn't partnership, it was Trojan, siphon our tech. Tank our valuation.
Buy us out cheap.
I'd borne his mistakes once. Now he'd weaponize mine. The instability, narrative revived with fresh venom. The decision was controversial. The kind that cleaves rooms. Mercy or massacre. I could have sued, dragged it public. But that'd bleed us dry. Invite regulators who'd already eyed our rapid rise. Instead, I chose Scorched Earth 2.0, internal purge,
Code audits.
a whisper campaign to VCs, painting Quantum as vipers.
But the twist?
I courted Marcus personally. Dinners at Franklin Barbecue, where brisk mokes smoked like alibis. Join us, I pitched. Voice velvet over steel. Ditch the old man. Hails the future. He flipped, greed's a fickle god, spilling Victor's playbook over pecan pie, offshore relays in the Caymans. Shell bids funneled through Lila's network. 48 hours later, Quantum imploded. Hacks exposed, courtesy of Elena's black hat cousin. Funding yanked. Marcus defecting to our fold as reformed consultant. The board, my 43, now 44, cheered the coup, but unease simmered. This is getting personal, Raj murmured post-mortem. Over IPAs at the map room. Victor's a has-been. Why chase ghosts? Because ghosts haunt. I didn't say. They whisper in the quiet, reminding you of the sins you swallowed. I'd taken the fall for Victor's early skim to protect jobs. Futures, mine included. But protection's a lie when it chains you.
Now.
Every flip, Lila's, Marcus's, mirrored my own buried flip, the moment I'd chosen silence over whistleblowing. Loyalty over light. Summer scorched in. Deals flowing like the Chicago River green on St. Patty's. Hail went public, IPO bells ringing on the NYSE. Confetti raining like absolution. Ticker, hail. My face on billboards. Forbes 30 under 40 Redux. But the high was hollow. Victor's shadow loomed. A package arrived at the office. Manila envelope. No return. Containing a single photo me. Post-confrontation. Eyes wild in the courtroom mirror. Back. You think you won? Checkmate. Paranoia bloomed. Security sweeps. Jitters in the ranks. The 43 fractured further, some pushing expansion into Victor's rumored crypto turf. Others urging caution. Don't become the monster. The climax crested in fall. A board retreat at a Tahoe lodge, pine-scented isolation. Agendas laced with tension. Victor crashed it. Uninvited. Choppering in like a Bond villain. Flanked by lawyers and a documentary crew, the fall of an empire, pitched as redemption. Anna. He boomed in the great room. Fire crackling like laughter. Let's end this. Public apology. Settlement. For the greater good. The room split. Half nodding. Weary of war. Half stone-faced. Grudges etched. Lila was there too. Invited consultant. Her presence a slap. She advocated peace. Voice lilting. We've all flipped enough. Time to heal. Marcus. My new ally. Shifted uncomfortably. Rumors of back-channel chats. I stood, pulse thundering, the 43's eyes on me like jury. Greater good, I echoed, circling the room slow as a shark. You bled us for yachts.
Vic.
Framed me for your filth. And now, peace. I cued the projector. Footage, fresh from Elena's digs, Victor's Belize lair. Wired for sound. Plotting the quantum hit with Lila's nods. Gasps rippled. Flips frozen midair. Victor blustered. Deep fake, but the crew captured it raw, his mask shattering. Curses flying. Lila bolted for the door. But Raj blocked. Calm as calculus. Sit. Testify. The night devolved into melee. Accusations hurled like axes. Alliances shattering. Marcus flipped back, slipped Victor a burner. Exposed later by security cams. The 43, half rallied to me, barricading the lodge, half mediated, brokering a tense truce. No one right, no one wrong, just survivors clawing in the dark. Dawn broke with Victor helicoptered out. Arrest warrant pending. Lila detained for questioning. Her final flip a plea deal.
Me?
I watched the lake. Mist rising like regrets. Wondering if I'd saved us or damned us deeper. The dust settled uneven. Like fallout over the Badlands. Hail dynamics ascendant. But scarred. A colossus with clay feet. Victor's trial dominated cable news. Court TV's guilty verdict a catharsis wrapped in ads for mesothelioma suits. He took the fall hard. 15 years white-collar in Otisville. Trading pinstripes for khakis. His legacy, reduced to appeals and ghost-ridden memoirs. Lila cut a deal, 6 months probation. Community service at a women's shelter. Ironic penance for the serpent. She vanished after. Spotted in LA Pilates studios. Reinventing as a resilience coach. The irony? Her seminars sold out. Women nodding to tales of rising from betrayal, never naming names. For the 43, now 40, attrition's toll, we splintered into fiefdoms. Raj spun off finance arm to fintech glory. Elena's R&D birthed a unicorn in green tech. The rest? Loyalists in my orbit. But trust? A fragile alloy. Tempered by too many flips. Board meetings turned therapy sessions. Agendas laced with trust-building icebreakers that tasted like ash. I pushed forward acquisitions in Boston. Expansions to Austin, but nights alone in the penthouse. Skyline mocking with its indifference. Doubt gnawed. Had I avenged the betrayal? Or birthed a cycle? The crime I'd borne, that early skim. Buried to shield the firm. Now echoed in my ledgers. Aggressive tax plays. Gray area lobbying. Necessary, Raj called it. I called it survival. The final twist slithered in unannounced. A December email from an anonymous server. Meet me. The real story. V. Victor. From the clink. Smuggling missives via a guard's daughter, or some such. Curiosity overrode caution. I flew to a neutral spot. A Catskills diner off I-87. Snow blanketing the pines like cover. He wasn't there, couldn't be, but a proxy, his son, Ethan, 22 and raw. Yukon dropout with his father's jaw, and none of the charm. Dad's dying, he blurted over coffee gone cold. Eyes red-rimmed. Cancer. Stage 4. The big C irony for the man who'd evaded every reckoning. He wants absolution. Says you owe him, for making you. Owe him? The word ignited. But Ethan's plea disarmed. Letters from Victor. Penned in prison scrawl. Confessing not malice.
But madness.
The skim? Desperation. Wife's chemo bills mounting pre-diagnosis. The frame?
Panic.
Merger millions at stake. He loved you like a daughter, Ethan choked. Fucked it up royal. Enclosed, a USB. Twin to mine, proof I'd known the skimp's roots. Chosen silence, not for loyalty, but ambition. My flip. Captured in emails to Victor. We'll fix it. For us. The greater good? A mutual delusion. I left the diner reeling. Snow crunching under tires as I barreled south. The dilemma cleaved me. Expose it. Tay my halo. Invite lawsuits from the 40 who'd hitched to my star? Or bury it deeper. Let the cycle spin? Publicly. I played magnate, keynotes at Davos. Philanthropy galas where I pledged millions to whistleblower funds. Irony my shield. Privately, I visited Otisville once. Glass partition between us. Victor gaunt as Gatsby's ghost. Forgive, he rasped. Hand to the plexi. I didn't. But I didn't gloat. We're even, I said, and meant it, debts paid in blood and boardrooms. The ending? No tidy bow. Just ambiguity's ache. Hale thrives. A Fortune 500 beast. But scandals whisper, a data breach pinned on internal sabotage, echoes of quantum. The 40 debate my calls in Slack channels, ethical gray. Controversial cuts that save jobs but shutter factories in the Rust Belt. Readers split. Am I Redeemer? Toppling tyrants for the little guy? Or Tyrant 2.0? Building on bones? Ethan visits sometimes. In turning at Hale. A bridge or a bomb. Victor passed quietly, obit glossing sins as visionary missteps. Lila? She messaged once. Proud of you. Sis. Flipped for the last time? I didn't reply. In the end, revenge isn't closure. It's a mirror. Cracking under scrutiny. I stare into it daily. Anna Hale. Architect of falls and rises. Wondering if the betrayed ever truly escapes the betrayer, or if we're all just flipping coins in the dark. Heads ambition. Tails regret. The city hums below. Indifferent. And I pour another scotch. To empires built and burned. To the shocking truth, no one's the villain. We're all the storm.